Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. We talk about different categories of wellness and seeking balance between them. There's overview info on our website, letsbewelltogether.com. Wow, this is episode 52. It marks 1 year's worth of episodes. We hope our territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people within a reconciliation process. We're on the Haldeman Tract, located on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land. Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast, and our guest host, Elise Seifert, is rejoining us as part of her Elise's Travel series. And by the way, Elise, you're a bit spoiled. Not a lot of us get the opportunity to travel like that.
Just a little bit. No, a lot of it.
But still, I'm glad you did, and I appreciate it was mostly, backpack type travel, and you had to watch the money and all that. But one thing you mentioned one time, and I never really asked you much about it, you said something about when you were in Bali, some connectedness between art, which I think is a really important part of wellness. Tell me more about that.
Of course. I was so amazed when I arrived in Bali because it's full of art everywhere. You walk down the street and there's all of these sculptures, there's paintings, there's everything just everywhere on the streets. And I guess I know from my experiences reading Eat, Pray, Love, I always imagined that Bali was a place where people were really happy. So in the book, Eat, Pray, Love, she visits Bali and she kind of goes on a spiritual journey.
And I also picture it from there as very nature-like.
Yes.
So lots of nature and not big streets. And I wasn't thinking art. So this is a bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah. And when I had arrived in Bali, I was first by myself. I was meeting my friend. We were starting our backpacking journey together. And so I got into a cab and he said, I'm going to take you to a coffee plantation. And I was like, no, I'm sure he just wants to take me there because he knows the person and wants them to get some money, which I understand, but I just got off a long flight. I just want to go home. And he's like, no, it's free. No problem. And he took me there. They gave me a whole tour and a coffee tasting. It was all free. And they were just so happy that I had been there and that they could do that with me. And I thought, wow, everyone's so kind and so happy. And then that taxi driver, actually, I asked him if he was available to take us for a tour. So once my friend had arrived, we went for a tour together and he toured us around the island and he talked to us about how each family within the island focuses on a different art form. So he said, this family, they focus on painting and they all learn how to paint and they create beautiful art together. And this family, their focus is silver making and sculptures. So everyone on the island takes a big focus on art and how it can affect their lives. And I think for them, it's a career path as well as something that helps them to become who they are and become these happy, wonderful people who are just so kind and giving.
And did you get the sense that people were enjoying it, that they got enjoyment from the art?
Definitely. We got to go and visit some of the places where they were both creating art and selling art. And we got to talk to some of the people there. And you could just tell how passionate they were about their work and how much they loved to share with you what they were doing and what they were very proud of. So it was an amazing experience to be able to tour those locations as well and see the work.
I'm just curious, it's a complete side issue, but you say drive around the island. Like, how big is the island? How long would it take to kind of see it?
I don't know exactly how large the island is now, but it took us a day and we saw a good portion of the island. So it's not incredibly large. But I know that there are a lot of resorts on the island as well that we probably wouldn't have seen. We were staying in Ubud, which is the main city in Bali. And then there are also a lot of beach areas where people tend to go and stay in those all-inclusive resorts as well. But we were staying closer to the city itself.
So you got a chance to tour the island, and did you run into art when you were touring? And what kind of art did you see? And did you get a chance to go to anything like museums? How did that work?
Yeah, so the temples themselves are full of sculptures, which I think is the first thing you notice when you're in Bali, in Ubud. I think the first thing you notice is just the streets. Everyone has these really ornate doors, and then they have sculptures outside of the doors. So it just seems like the whole city is a museum. And then while we were there, we were able to see more stores. So we would go in and it would be kind of like a gallery. You'd walk through, there are work. And then if you'd like any of it, you could purchase it. So we visited a painting gallery. We painted a silver working gallery, a woodworking gallery, and a sculpting gallery.
Well, that all sounds great. So did you have other experiences with art in Bali?
No, we were only there for a short time. So after we had finished with our tours there, we headed out to the Gili Islands. It's a series of 3 islands in Indonesia. So we spent some time there really just enjoying the nature. It's actually a very small island that we stayed on, and you could walk the whole perimeter of the island in about 2 hours. And we spent lots of time in the water, the most incredible water I had ever seen. You imagine just blue waters, white sand, and it was just so gorgeous. And we did some snorkeling there.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, some of the nicest art I see is nature's art. I look out at a certain color of the sky that's just unbelievably amazing, or certain sights. So tell us a little bit about some of the art you saw underwater while you were snorkeling.
Oh, it was beautiful. Just the vibrant colors. I find when you go snorkeling in a place that's, I guess, more tropical, you see so many vibrant colors. I had seen a sea turtle, which I'd never seen before while snorkeling. So that was pretty incredible. And there was one location we stopped at where people were surfing, and we were kind of a little bit away from where they were surfing, but you're snorkeling and it looks like the coral is just a little bit below you, and then all of a sudden there's this big drop. And so I kind of went under to explore the drop a little bit close to where the people were surfing, and it was just so beautiful.
So if you looked up, could you see surfboards going over you?
I wasn't quite that close.
Still pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was such a beautiful place, and you could see why art would be so important to them, because they wanted to replicate the beauty that they were seeing in their community.
But what about sharks? Aren't you worried about sharks?
Yeah.
You are?
Well,
so what'd you do?
I just stayed close to the group. I don't think that there were any sharks, but I'm always afraid of sharks. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I know. And that's a joke kind of at our house, because we got pool lights put in our pool when we had to do some work one time. And afterwards, Sheila said, thank goodness, because I hated swimming at night because I was worried there were sharks. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, how can there be a shark in a pool? But anyway, that's why I had to ask you too.
Yes. No, but I did not see any sharks, maybe some like stingrays.
Okay, well, we've heard about the beauty of nature as an artist, and we hear that there's a lot of people in Bali who love art. And again, just a theme that we're going to keep repeating is, in our view, art is a rich source of enjoyment and wellness. And so it's really worth it to appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. Today's interview is in the category of different areas of wellness. In fact, interrelationships between areas of wellness. I was introduced to Dr. Jaime Downey, and she speaks about and is interested in connections between areas such as financial, physical, and mental wellness. Given that I'm extremely interested in these interrelationships, I jumped at the chance to have a chat with Jaime. So welcome and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So Dr. Jaime Downey was born and raised in Kitchener, Ontario, and always had a passion for living a healthy, active lifestyle and helping others to do the same. This led her to obtain her honors degree in kinesiology from the University of Western Ontario, and then she went on to receive her Doctor of Chiropractic degree with honors. She enjoys working with people of all ages while utilizing an evidence-based approach when developing treatment plans with her patients. She strives to work with each patient to develop personal goals and help them get back to the activities they most enjoy. Where should we start on a discussion between connections between physical health and financial health?
First thing, I did want to talk a little bit about what a chiropractor is. That is ultimately what I am. And so some people, I'm sure, have seen a chiropractor, others may not have. First things first, we are healthcare professionals who focus on diagnosing and treating different musculoskeletal conditions of the body. And there are many different types of chiropractic care. From one chiropractor to the next, some people practice differently, but the goal is always the same, which is to ensure that our patients feel better than when they originally came in and that they have a good understanding of what's going on with their body. When people first come to see a chiropractor, usually what will happen is the chiropractor will go through a history ask the person exactly what's going on, what goals they hope to accomplish. They'll then do a physical exam, form a diagnosis, and plan of management. And so then that would be tailored to the specific needs and goals of their patient. So I do work at a multidisciplinary clinic. I work with other health professionals as well, massage therapists, physiotherapists, personal trainers, kinesiologists, just to name a few. So I am able to refer to them accordingly, which is really nice to have that in your wheelhouse as well, that collaboration.
I think that kind of ties into the concept I'm so interested in, which is, let's say I hurt my back or something. To think that I could just go to a chiropractor and get one adjustment and it's all good is wishful thinking. The adjustment might be quite useful, but then I need to start living a healthy lifestyle, eating right, doing exercise, and all that other stuff. So it does sound like there's a lot of interrelationships with these other groups. And maybe, I don't know, is that kind of where you kind of start to see a connection on financial and physical, in the sense that, this is all part of a larger picture that we have to think of when we're trying to achieve wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. People at times will come in with more acute injuries, but it's my preference to be treating people who are on a more of a maintenance care plan, because then we're treating those before they even happen in the first place. And again, nothing wrong with the more acute care, because everybody needs that from time to time. But if we can even tackle the problems before they arise, then that's even better. And that's, again, what you had mentioned, where they're all connected together. So having a healthy lifestyle, working on strengthening and really strengthening the muscles, working on balance, and then how everything ties in, because then we can avoid those issues from even happening beforehand. This kind of ties into the pillars, 4 pillars of health. When I think about our connection between our mental health and our physical health, these come in mind to me in particular, because the 4 are nutrition, movement, sleep, and relaxation. So nutrition, again, just to break it down a little bit more, eating healthy foods, this is what keeps us energized throughout the day. It'll keep us feeling good. When we're eating more heavily processed foods or foods that are more high in sugar, this will leave us feeling more sluggish. And then that makes it even more difficult to keep us energized throughout the day.
So if I could just switch gears before you move on to the next pillar, when I'm thinking about nutrition, I just wanted to say that in my experience, when I'm eating healthy, it's just one of the biggest game changers and the things that makes me feel the best. So I love that one.
The other 3 that I like to focus on are movement, sleep, and relaxation. Number 2 being movement. When it comes to exercise, movement actually helps promote the production of endorphins in our body, which can work as natural painkillers and mood elevators. It also helps reduce our cortisol levels, our stress levels throughout the day. And again, this is so important, and the movement can look different to everybody. Nothing wrong if it's a 30-minute walk, if you're going for an hour, workout at the gym, anything's better than nothing. And over time, it's also really, really important to be strengthening our muscles and improving balance, because we want to reduce the likelihood of injuries and falls as we get older. And then the third one, sleep. I think this is the most important pillar, as a good sleep can, again, help reduce stress levels, improve our concentration, productivity throughout the day. And a lot of the recovery that we need is happening when we're sleeping. So important. And something that I'm trying to work on as well, putting my phone away an hour before bed, because that can actually, having our phone on us can confuse our internal biological clock, which interrupts our circadian rhythm.
I actually, having listened to another podcast, I start leaving my phone downstairs. I don't have it beside me in bed. And, longer story, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but it makes me sleep better. So now, like if I wake up at night, I don't even have that thought that I might be able to reach over and look at my phone. It's not there. So yeah, no, I love that idea of not looking at the phone and trying to get a really good night's sleep.
Yeah, it's so important. People don't do it as much as they should, something that they can add to the routine. Yeah, number 4, relaxation. Again, working to promote mindfulness, relaxation. I see this quite a bit at work, because what happens is people breathe out of their chest as opposed to their abdomen. And it's really important that we try to work on our diaphragmatic breathing, lower down, as opposed to breathing higher up from our chest. So then what happens over time is that these muscles higher up get overworked, which can then lead to shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, headache. And so then those are the conditions that I'll treat. Something as simple as taking 20 deep breaths in the morning before you go to bed, really trying to promote that relaxation state before you go into the day or before you end the day. Something easy we can add into our routine as well.
When I'm running, I sometimes try and focus on breathing into the lower, I think that's the diaphragm, right?
Yeah.
You're right. Like sometimes during the day I'm at the desk and I can feel myself breathing into my chest and I'm like, stop it. I try and fix it, but it's really hard to break that habit.
It's hard. And exactly what you said, it becomes a habit. So those habits over time are what can cause problems.
Okay. So how can my financial situation affect my health?
Our financial debt and responsibilities can cause physical stress, which is where I come in again, as they can lead to that back pain, neck pain, headache, and then our interrupted sleep and other physical ailments. Then we also see the contrary, when we aren't physically healthy, this can put a damper on our financial health. So we do know that when we're feeling our best, our work performance will improve, and that can also equate to more financial rewards and then greater stability over time. Oftentimes we'll have a financial plan in place. So whether it be savings for retirement, saving for a house, we will seek help from a financial advisor, an accountant, but we do have that plan. So again, I think that's so important to have that healthcare plan in place too, as opposed to waiting for something to happen or for a symptom to arise. And again, just being proactive with our health.
I really like that analogy. And also something occurred to me that I hadn't thought of before when you were talking, which was I can imagine your financial situation starts to add stress, and then that starts to affect your physical health. That deteriorates a bit. Now you're having a harder time making money and doing your job, and their financial stress gets worse. It's just this vicious circle where you're kind of in this downward spiral. I can see that you've got to break out of that by taking care of both.
Exactly. And exactly what you just said. And oftentimes also what happens is people will cut out their self-care when they do get really stressed. So again, importance of having those plans in place ahead of time so you are still able to focus on yourself in those things that are important to you in your life while staying strong, healthy, and just being more adaptable over time.
That's exactly what happened to me a long time ago, which was I kept letting my physical health go on the furthest back burner of all back burners. And, eventually I was just so overweight and out of shape. I felt terrible. And even more recently, when it's been a bit more of a struggle during COVID to do something, at least I keep some activity going. So I never want to have that situation again. I always want to have some plan in place to keep the physical side going. And just by doing that, keeping your toe in the door, it's a lot easier to get back into it again.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And anything is better than nothing too.
Okay. So just before I turn to a question that I ask every guest, is there anything else you wanted to cover today on the chat?
I think we covered a lot there. So yeah, I think that was a great conversation.
Okay. So talking about interrelationships, we ask every guest the same question in a context where we all have many areas of wellness that are important to us, but not enough time to focus on all of them at any given time. We do essentially a mini wellness check-in. Are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of one thing you can do to foster wellness in that area?
So I'm actually going to go back to one of the 4 pillars, which is sleep. So sleep has been something that I know I need to work on and adjusting my sleep schedule. So again, I'm working on that by trying to go to bed at the same time every day, waking up at the same time, having a better schedule and routine. And again, like I said, turning my phone off an hour before bed every day, keeping it in a different room, those things that we know that are so important, but making it a routine to actually do it every single day.
Let me ask you just a couple questions on that.
Yeah.
Because I always think that in a perfect world, you just wake up without an alarm, right? So your body's telling you when you can wake up. Now, we can't always do that because of work and the rest of it, but you're saying you're going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time. Are you finding that you're naturally waking up? If you keep going to bed at the same time at night, are you starting to naturally wake up at the same time in the morning, or is it your alarm that's waking you up?
Over time, the more I get into that habit, the more that I am waking up at the same time without needing that alarm clock to wake me up. But when I get out of that cycle, that is when I will need an alarm clock to then wake myself up because I don't have that internal clock working as well.
The other thing that I've noticed is, so my wife Sheila has started a job a few months back where she starts working at 7 o'clock in the morning during the week, a few days a week. And so we've been going to bed earlier. She goes to bed at 9, I'm usually around 10, and we get up early, like 6. And I don't know if it's just me, but I'm finding that it feels like that's a better rhythm for my body, going to bed early and waking up early. I just feel better than those occasions, even if I get the same number of hours sleep. But if I'm going to bed 2 hours later and waking up 2 hours later, I don't feel as good. I'm not sure if there's something in that.
Oh, there is. Yeah, absolutely. I think there are some studies that have talked about the importance of going to bed before midnight, and every extra hour of sleep before midnight, it almost counts as more. There's some studies on that. I'm not sure the exact ones, but it is important.
So there might actually be something more than just my experience. That's kind of cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's worth experimenting for our listeners. They can try the sleep schedules at different times and see what works best for them. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks very much for taking time to explain this to us. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
A quick note for new listeners who don't know the approach to wellness and balance in my book, Accidentally Well by John Webster. Please consider reading it. It's a 3-step approach. First, I identified categories of wellness that are important to me. Second, I'm figuring out activities that foster wellness in each area. Third, I do a wellness check-in from time to time, especially if I'm feeling off. Join us for the ride as I explore this approach in the podcast and co-hosts explore their perspectives.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of The Adventures of the Starving Artist. Well, we're well on our way into the new year here, and at least for me this year, it came along with some new perspectives and some shuffling around of some things. All good stuff, some interesting growing pains, but all good stuff. One of the cool new things that's been a new ball that I've started to roll, let's put it that way, is that I've connected with an entertainment lawyer. His name's Bert. And Bert is going to make me a few contracts that'll help me sort of level up my session musician game. In the past, and up till now, I've been using contracts that are either verbal and very casual, depending on the client, of course, written, but still not super duper formal, or a mishmash compilation of different pieces from other contracts that I've found either online or from my own past work, and sort of cobbled them all together into things that get done what I need to get done. But I'm not a lawyer, and definitely not an entertainment lawyer. It's a very weird area of law. It's a lot complicated, and it really, it's just difficult to navigate unless it's what you focus on. So it was high time for me to meet up with somebody and connect with somebody who actually knows their stuff in this area. So I've connected with Bert, and he's going to help me get these contracts going, so in the future, I won't have to worry about drafting something bespoke for every single studio session, and I sort of have like a template to work with. So that's a really big step for me, and I'm excited to see what I might be able to get done with that sort of thing in my toolbox. What I want to tell you about today, though, is an actual adventure coming up. Tomorrow, way too early, I'm going to be jumping into my little car and heading from here in Ottawa out to Quebec City, where I'll be meeting up with my friend JC. Now, JC is a very accomplished and skilled guitar player. He and I went to Berkeley together, and he's world class. He'll be the last to tell you that, but trust me, he's really, really good. He's got an album out. It's called Blackout Poetry. I encourage you to check it out if you're in the mood for some folk-style music, some great songwriting. His lyrics are poignant and beautiful. But JC has been practicing his French much more than I have, which, and I'm embarrassed to say this as a Canadian, my French education didn't extend much past 11th grade, and I've forgotten much of it since then. I know enough to get by, mostly from a listening, like comprehension standpoint. If I had to carry a conversation, my side would be pretty weak. My rehearsed line is, and I, change it up a little bit, but the essence of it is, si tu me parles comme j'ai 5 ans, et comme je suis très stupide, et très lentement, peut-être je comprends. Now, for those of you who don't speak any French, that roughly translates to, if you talk to me like I'm 5, stupid, and speak really slowly, maybe I'll understand you. I feel like with that and a few key words, s'il vous plaît, merci, puis j'ai une bière, I should be able to get by. I'm looking forward to exploring Quebec City, especially the old city. I haven't been there since I was really little, and now as an adult, it'll be fun to explore it with one of my best buddies, get our butts kicked by French, and check out what it has to offer. We're looking at, among other things, maybe trying to find an open mic or two, just to play some tunes and get some music going. I'll undoubtedly be doing a Starving Artist segment live on location, if you will, in Quebec City at some point, featuring JC as a guest. So you can stay tuned for that one, probably in our next episode. But for now, that's all I've got. A new year, a new perspective on some things, some new tools in the toolkit, some new connections, and my sights set on some new things. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We love our listeners and thanks for joining us. Please help spread the word about Let's Be Well Together podcast. Follow us and rate us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at lets.be.well.together and let your friends know about us.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
I'm happy to have Sydney Stortini back. She earlier talked to us a little bit about wakeboarding and paddleboarding, and she loves her exercise.
Yes, I do.
Sydney also likes weightlifting and going to the gym.
Yes.
I think you go to the gym, don't you, or do you do it at home?
No, I go to the gym. During COVID, I was doing it at home, but now that we're able to go back, I'm definitely going to the gym.
I've told a few people recently, and I've said it on the show too, I'm trying to get myself to go back to the gym. So it's nice to talk to people like you because you're going to inspire me.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard after being stuck in your house for a long time, getting back into that routine of going out and going to the gym, but it's very fun.
A quick story. I used to be in really bad shape, and I was over 50 when I finally got in good shape for the first time in my life. And I really felt what it was like when you're doing regular aerobic and strength training and core training. It feels amazing. And so, whereas before it would be like, oh, I've got to go to the gym because I got to go to the gym. Now I know if I do that, I'm going to feel fantastic. So it does help. So I just need kind of a kickstart.
Yeah, exactly. That kickstart definitely helps the body to get out there and do the exercise.
Also, I need a kickstart on the inspirational side. That's where I'm looking for it. Okay,
For
so
sure.
Let's start by how often do you try and get to the gym for weights?
I try to go about 5 times a week. I have a personal rule that I don't enjoy working out on the weekends. So I try to do Monday to Friday.
That's amazing. And I take it then that you're working on different muscle groups on consecutive days?
Yeah, I try to do different muscle groups on different days, but I'm not super set on sticking to an exact routine, but I try my best.
That's the same as me. I tend to do more. So I'm not lifting big weights. I'm trying to be more toned than to get big.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can get away a little bit more with doing more well-rounded stuff on consecutive days.
Yeah.
What kind of weights do you like? Do you like free weights? Do you like machines?
I personally enjoy free weights. I find there's a lot more range of motion you can do, and you can personalize it to pre-existing injuries you've had and your own body strength. So I find it works better for me.
I like that too. I much prefer free weights. Although, as long as people are getting to the gym, if they like the machines, that's fantastic.
Exactly.
When I talked to you earlier, you mentioned that you like both weightlifting and stretching. And I think it's a great idea. It's just, to me, that's not really that intuitive that you combine the two. Because a lot of times when you're lifting weights, you get tight. So
Yeah.
what is it that you find about that combination?
So I find stretching before and after a workout helps prepare your muscles to lift those weights properly. By not stretching, you're setting yourself up for potential injuries by not warming up your muscles. And also being able to be more limber, you're able to potentially lift more weight, have a better range of motion when you're doing certain exercises, and preventing injuries.
My wife, Sheila, danced for a long time, so she's super flexible and she does a lot of dance-related stretching. Is that something you did?
Yeah, so I did gymnastics for about 12 years. And so we would all have to stretch before starting gymnastics. And even during our routines, it was all about stretching and making sure your muscles are prepared to do the movements that your body wants to do. Because if your muscles aren't able to make those movements, you're going to be forcing them and leading yourself towards injuries.
And how does it make you feel when you get your 5 days in, you're doing your stretching, you're doing your weightlifting? Think about outside the gym now, just your everyday regular life. How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel great. I personally like to go to the gym in the morning because it just starts my day off on a good note. I find I'm always leaving the gym singing songs in my car. I get home and I start doing my homework and I'm actually excited to go to school. I enjoy the walk to school. It just makes the whole day better.
You are the at least third person who I've interviewed. Hillary Fitzgerald we did a longer interview with her about the early morning workout. I think I'm getting sold on this. I think I have to try this and try it for an extended period of time because people just love that morning workout and how it sets their day off just right.
It really does. I find I'm not a big morning person. I never have been, but that morning workout really just sets the tone for the day.
Well, it's just amazing, and I really appreciate you coming on. It's amazing that you're sharing your story, and with any luck, somebody's sitting on their couch right now and saying, you know what, I'm going to get up and start doing something, and it's okay to start slow.
Yes, exactly.
But hopefully someone will start making exercise part of their everyday. And for those who already do, they'll be inspired to get back out there again. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
There's a thought. Popped up while running. I actually can't believe it. It's the 52nd episode, which means we completed 1 full year of the podcast. And that is amazing because that was my initial goal, to try and do 1 year's worth of episodes. And so today it's a time to do a couple things. One is to pay tribute to somebody very special to me in my heart, Terry Fox. And also then to thank all the people who made this happen, the podcast team. It's just incredible. I just feel amazing. So let me start by talking about Terry Fox. When I decided to try and put together a team and put out the podcast, there's a lot going on. But one of the things I was thinking about was Terry. For those of you who are listening from outside of Canada, if you want to try and understand Canadians, understand what's in our hearts, you should meditate a little bit and learn a little bit about Terry Fox and what he did, and also how he was received by the whole country and how he inspired a whole country. He was one of the greatest Canadians. He had cancer and had a leg amputated. As a way to raise money to try and help other people, he decided to run all the way across Canada, which is incredibly long, probably between 5,000 and 6,000 kilometers on the road he was taking. He made it about halfway across. His cancer was in remission at the time, and it came back. And unfortunately, he then succumbed to his injury. He just laid it all on the line. And when he was doing the work, it wasn't cushy work. It's cold. It's rainy. He was doing about a marathon every day. That's insane. I can't even imagine the pain he went through. What kind of words come to mind when I think about Terry Fox? Things like fierce and brave and stubborn. But also, he was vulnerable and willing to put himself out there. He was generous because he was doing this for other people. And the reason I'm talking about that is because he made it about halfway across, and I figure kind of roughly, had he been able to make the whole way across, it would have taken him a year. And he would have done that without asking for anything for himself. He did it on a volunteer basis. And that's what I had decided to do then when I finally decided to and started to get the podcast going. My initial goal was to at least spend 1 year on a completely voluntary basis, put out episodes in the hopes that maybe they'll help people. And obviously, I'm not going to have the kind of impact that he had, but maybe I'll have some impact and maybe I'll help some people. And wow, we were able to get through that year. I have to thank the podcast team though, because honestly, without them, we wouldn't have got off the ground. First and foremost, Sheila, who's a big part of the show. We had kind of a knockdown, blow it out fight one time a couple years back. I'm not going to go through the whole argument, but the argument was I had all kinds of reasons not to do the podcast. And eventually Sheila said, just do it. And if it wasn't for that night and that argument that she won, we wouldn't have made the podcast. And then I also truly believe that if she wasn't such a big part of it, like if we weren't working on this together, there's just too much to do. And it would have kind of come between us if I was always working on this and she had no part of it. So Sheila's a huge help and big thanks to her. And then there's Sammy. What great conversations I have with her. I just absolutely love them and I'm learning so much. She always comes up with stuff that I don't think about. And it makes me see things in a different way, it makes me appreciate things in a different way, and really improves my understanding of the theories that I'm trying to work on. It's been incredible. So Sammy, thanks so much. And I hope you're getting something out of it as well. I know that our listeners are getting something out of it because you're here. So that's amazing. And Cameron, I had this kind of crazy idea that if we threw in the middle of the show something fun and interesting, something from an artist, something that would be lighthearted at times and also just hearing the struggles at other times, I hoped that it would be interesting, but I wasn't sure. I love when it's time to edit the show and I get what Cameron sent me and I listen to it and edit it, put it on the show. And every time I'm like, wow, that is so amazing. And it's always so unexpected. So thanks so much, Cameron. And lastly, Julie. Now, Julie, you don't really know much about, but she's behind the scenes doing all kinds of work. Thanks, everybody. We couldn't have done it without the listeners. We really appreciate it. We really hope you're getting something out of this. See you next time on the first pop-up of the second season. It's me. Am I?
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Not necessarily you and me.
Very good.
Yes, sex is part of wellness.
Definitely.
And I came across an article that talks about benefits from sex. So It's written by Jane Atkinson and Lizzie Perry. I found it on the internet, but I'm sure if you do a Google search for sexual healing, 10 ways to give you a lust for life, from boosting your immunity to managing pain, and it was published on August 6th, 2022, you'll find it. And essentially the intro says, sex can help us live longer, healthier lives by boosting our immunity, lowering blood pressure, and reducing the risks of certain cancers. Mm-hmm. But the benefits of a satisfying love life do not have to involve a partner. You can still get some of the health perks when satisfied solo.
Right.
So can we just go through the benefits first, Sheila, and then we can maybe talk about a couple of them?
Okay, sounds good. Number 1 is immunity. Immunity is regular sex helps fight off infection, builds antibodies, and your immune system.
Right, and that's obviously with somebody else.
Yeah.
The next one is libido. Men who abstain for 3 to 4 weeks have an increased libido. Libido is sex drive. Mm-hmm. But if you keep going for up to 12 weeks, testosterone levels start to drop.
Right.
So it's definitely a case of use it or lose it.
Number 3 is mental health. Sex helps less bouts of depression, anxiety, and it also helps manage your daily stress.
The next is prostate cancer. Sexually active men have a reduced risk of prostate cancer, and this is often for men over 40. The advice by Dr. Jeff is to ejaculate 3 or 4 times a week. And they go on to say, which some people might like, there's no fixed number. Just do it as much as you can.
Do it as much as you can.
Okay.
Number 5 is exercise. Although sex is not long enough to be your daily exercise, it does help with your flexibility, your strength, your holding poses, your stretches, and it helps like yoga does, connecting yourself to your body.
Blood pressure. Now, there's a word here. It's hard for me to read, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay.
So the spike in testosterone production during sex can lower blood pressure, while serotonin, endorphins, and phenylethylamine hormones are also released during sex, which in turn lowers stress levels.
And number 7 is warning signs. A lack of libido can be a bad sign of heart disease. Erectile dysfunction can be a sign of bad blood pressure and heart conditions.
Yeah, well, actually, it's bad blood flow.
Oh, okay.
Not bad blood pressure, but good one. Stay young. This is good news. You don't have to worry about losing your libido as you age. Mm-hmm. Our bodies are equipped until we die.
And I like number 9. It's manage pain. When you have an orgasm, it releases the happy hormone, which helps manage pain.
And sleep. It's a myth that men are the only ones who fall asleep after sex because dopamine, the hormone that's released after an orgasm, actually makes both sexes sleepy. Mm-hmm. Was that number 10?
Number 10.
Okay, so is there any that you want to chat about?
Well, I definitely like the managing pain one. That's awesome that it can manage pain. But mine is mental. I actually do find if I've had sex that it really does help me throughout my day. It totally relaxes me so that I can handle all the stresses of the day. And if I do find that I'm getting stressed, or I just think about how I felt after I had sex and it relaxes me. So that's kind of cool.
It's so weird. I never knew anything about that about you, but
it's not something you talk about very much, I don't think.
No, and it's kind of awkward talking about it to people on the air, but but we're, it is part of wellness and we're trying to communicate a message. I never really thought about that, but I think it's probably true. So I don't actually connect. I can't imagine how it's working, But obviously, I'm more balanced in so many different ways, and it does help.
So which one's your favorite?
Well, I just want to talk about, I'm not sure if any of them are favorite, but staying young. That's a good one to hear about because, I don't know, maybe it's a guy thing, but you worry about as you get older, what's going to happen, and are things going to start to break down? Is it still going to be great? Are you still going to want it? Is your partner still going to want it? And so it's great to know that our bodies are set up, that we're equipped for life. So that's good news on my front.
Yeah, and I also like, although it wasn't one of the 10, I like the fact that it says that you will live longer if you have sex, or you can live longer if you have regular sex.
It makes sense to me. It's just like everything else, like every other part of wellness. If you have a balanced life and you're being healthy and you're doing what your body is meant to do, what your body is designed to do, to me, it only makes sense that it helps you have a longer life.
Yeah, so let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about you and me. Okay. Oh, wait, maybe it's not you and me. We're just talking in general.
Just about sex.
Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way. We are at sign-off time, and tonight I have with me Cameron and Sheila.
Hello.
Hello.
I should have said, and I'm John, but hopefully people know my voice by now.
Yep.
I'm still doing habit stacking. I'm really intent on slowly adding stuff this year because I want to make this year work better than the last couple COVID years when I would start kind of doing stuff, watching what I eat, working out, but then let it slide. I figure if I just build slowly, maybe it'll work better. You'll remember a few weeks back, I started going to the gym first thing in the morning, doing that, loving it. Then I started drinking a lot more water. That's still going really well. I'm enjoying that. And Dr. Jaime Downey, for this week's interview, when I put together the show, it reminded me that she said something that I think would be really great to build in, which is at the start and the end of every day to do what's called diaphragmatic breathing. So into your stomach, where you do 20 nice deep breaths into your diaphragm. And she suggests doing it in the morning and at night. So I'm going to do it hopefully before or right when I get to work. And then just before I go upstairs to bed, to brush my teeth and stuff. And I'm hoping that because I do have a habit of slipping into breathing into my chest, the higher up, which isn't very good. And I'm hoping that if I do this every day, a couple of things will happen. It'll become a habit. And secondly, I'll be more relaxed when I get to bed.
Well, that is very interesting because for me, as a dancer, we are meant to keep our core nice and tight so we don't breathe out of our diaphragm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we'd always breathe. And if you're wearing a tutu, you can't breathe out of your diaphragm. Your tutu's so tight around your center, you can't move anything. So it's all up here. So that is something that I would really like to improve on too. I find that when I'm in yoga, I breathe in my diaphragm. So that is definitely something that I should do.
I have heard in many different contexts that it's such a big advantage.
I'm sure you're good at that, Cameron, being a singer and all.
I do have to use the diaphragm every day. Yes, absolutely. Very important for singing, but honestly, every breath should come from there. In our Western society, people like to be skinny and slim. Mm-hmm. And if you breathe properly using the diaphragm, you don't look skinny and slim because your tummy gets really big, right? Mm-hmm. I had a prof in school that always used to say, breathe as if you're breathing down into your underpants. And that's what I tell my vocal students. It works.
Okay.
Into your underpants.
I had a pretty crazy week. I talk a little bit about it in the upcoming Starving Artist segment, but I visited Quebec City with one of my best friends from school, and we just explored, took in the city, took in the culture, dusted off some French, which I haven't used in something like 13 years. Mm-hmm, and I had set a goal for myself to make it through at least one meal without the service staff switching to English for me. And I achieved that goal a couple of times. So
that's really
count
good.
That as a win.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't know if that's ever happened to us, John?
Well, yes.
yes,
maybe.
maybe.
I can speak French passably when I'm doing it often.
Yes. We just found that often when we spoke French, they would switch over to English. And I do think it was a politeness that they were like, you're trying to speak French now, let's speak English. I do know how to speak English, but
I think also there is a difference between Montreal and Quebec. So
Oh,
Montreal,
definitely.
there's a lot more people who speak both English and French.
Correct.
Where in Quebec City, we say Quebec, but we really mean Quebec City. There's a lot more people who don't really speak much English. And by the way, it's one of my favorite, most beautiful cities
Me too.
to go to. It's just
It's
stunning.
gorgeous. Now, of course, it's winter time, so it was a little bit chilly, but
Yes.
still absolutely beautiful. Like Vieux Quebec in the snow, my goodness, that's a sight to take in.
Yes.
Well, I also learned something fun I want to share. There's all kinds of different slang and different expressions that, of course, might not translate directly from language to language. And one of the ones that I learned that is apparently exclusively Quebecois is sur le coche, which
Sur le
roughly
coche.
translates to on the tick like the bug. And what that roughly means is like that's bang on, like right on the mark, right on the money.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely correct or perfect. And it's a fun one to throw around in conversation now.
That
So there
is.
you go.
Can you say it one more time?
Absolutely. Sur la coche. But they say it so quickly, it just sounds like sur coche.
Sur coche.
Sur la coche. Yeah. It was very cool. Happy to have learned that.
That is really cool.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool that this is our 52nd episode. That's 1 year's worth of episodes. And that's a pretty awesome milestone to have reached. So congratulations,
It
team.
is. Yeah. Way to go, Cameron. John.
Way to go, team.
It's amazing. And like I said in my pop-up, I mean, that was the goal when I started. That's how I persuaded people like Cameron and Sammy and others. I said, just work with me so we can get 1 year's worth of episodes out, which was a huge ask, right?
Yeah.
And we just did it.
But the thing that
We did
impressed me is that we didn't miss a week.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we got the 52 episodes out in 52 weeks. We didn't miss
That's right.
a week. That was very impressive. So
We didn't drop the ball. Not
No.
even one time. That's a pretty good track record there, team. What's going on with you, Sheila?
Well, I would like to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year because yesterday was the first day of the Lunar New Year. It is the year of the rabbit. I don't know if you know what your year is. I can't remember what mine is. What about you, John?
I remember mine because it's so cool. I am Year of the Dragon.
Dragon. That's right. I remember
Now,
that.
There's a lot of really great characteristics and traits associated with every year. Like, so you might be like, oh no, I'm Year of the Pig. I'm sure Year of the Pig is amazing. And I think there's a Year of the Monkey, and they're all amazing. But
There's
of course,
12.
Year of the Dragon is the best.
So the year of the rabbit, that is this year. And if you were born in the year of the rabbit, you're said to be very talented in many different aspects. They are affectionate and excel at forming close relationships. So the year of the rabbit, you were born in 1927, 39, 51, 63, 75, 87, 99, and 2011. And of course, 2023.
Very cool.
I had a crazy week this week at work, but we did enjoy theater this weekend. John and I decided to go to a VIP movie, and that's the first time. Well, before COVID, I think it was the last time we went to the movie theater. So we went VIP and saw
Avatar.
That's right. And it was so good. I was hesitant to go because it was long, over 3 hours. And we've already seen Avatar 1. And I'm kind of like, we got the Avatar idea, but this was so different. And what a great story and visually amazing.
The visuals were unbelievable. The underwater stuff looked like you were watching a nature show with really cool animals that you'd never seen before, and the flying. It was awesome.
And then, of course, VIP, you've got the special seats. They serve you alcohol. It's adults only. So we so enjoyed doing that. So we just decided just to go out there and do it all.
Okay. Well, we're running out of time, so you can't really talk too much about wedding planning, but maybe we can catch up on that next week.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you enjoy next week.
That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.